I bet you thought it was done, really we only begun, yeah. Ain't no turning back now. Give it all till there's nothing left. Come on, no, ain't no turning back now. You ain't seen nothing yet. You thought it was over, I'm just getting started.
Hello everybody. In today's video I'm going to explain a feat called Your True Gem in CoUe from Long Live the Legion DLC. Having 223 head augments reduces the effectiveness from Mordor's Abyssal Impulse by 10%, or in other words, the pushback mechanic becomes easier to overcome and it will also give you bonus stats. Our group setup was one tank, one healer who was spamming greens, one buff troll, and the rest DPSs. Having good burn will make the last phase shorter, which will also minimize the number of beams you get, hence it reduces the possibility of you being hit by the orbs. The feat says to finish last boss fight without taking any damage from Mordor's gem, which is in the last phase of the fight. The gem will randomly target someone with a golden purplish beam, which means they will start dropping golden orbs on the platform, and in a second or two these orbs will explode. So in order for you to not get hit by them, you must run around making sure you're not hitting other players as well. Before jumping into the last boss fight, you must set up a separate tab with only damage in case a player is hit by the orb. It's just going to be easier for them to notice it that way. If you see Mordor's gem enclosure has damaged you for a certain number on your tab, it means you have failed the feat and you should wipe. I'll explain the mechanics of the fight before telling you more about our strategy of the feat. The first phase of the fight with Mordor contains 5 mechanics and one of them is about the usage of supply drop. Dropping a supply at a random time is not recommended as Mordor will drop one of his own that will heal and buff him for a couple seconds, so the only times you can use a supply is either before the fight starts, when Mordor is doing the pushback, when he's transforming from small to big size, and at the very last phase as well. The second mechanic is purple balls. Mordor will put his hands up in the air and drop 3 or 5 of them, but regardless of the number, players should always keep their distance as they will get one-shotted if a ball hits them. Only the tank may survive. The third mechanic is the pushback. After every 3 sets of purple balls, Mordor will teleport to where he spawned in the beginning of the fight, and you can look out for 2 indicators for when he's doing the pushback. The first one is a screech or whistle sound, and the second one is big red arrows covering the platform, but the latter doesn't always show up, so I wouldn't rely on it. What you need to do during this mechanic is either lunge or walk towards the boss so the pushback mechanic won't knock you into the abyss. Also make sure that you don't jump when the mechanic is about to go off, as it will push you even further back, leading you to fall even if you're close to the boss. If you get knocked down and your health isn't full, you will die, and if you're fully healed for the first and second time you fall, you receive damage equal to almost 90% of your health, but if you fall a third time you will most likely die even if you have full health. If you die and get picked up at some point and there is another pushback happening, don't rush to come up because it has an after effect that will kill you again. The fourth mechanic is purple puddles. Mordor will randomly put 1 or 2 puddles on players and they will have to stay away from everyone. If someone comes near the ones with the puddles, they will be turned into trees or rocks and will have to tap their way out. Players in the rocks and trees forms will be taking damage over time, so it's important to get out of it as soon as possible, unless Mordor is about to do the pushback mechanic, as there is animation and you will not be able to get closer to avoid falling, and also the pushback mechanic going off will break you out of the form you are in. On Mordor's first transition from normal size, the purple puddles will not transform you into rocks or trees. Instead, you will be transformed into a smaller size of your toon, where your lunge and movement will be slower in a way. So in case Mordor is doing the knockback mechanic, you will need to lunge a couple of times to reach him or move quickly to be saved from falling. The fifth mechanic is teleportation. Mordor will be randomly teleporting near players. He might also end up turning them into rocks and trees right after teleporting, so they need to break out of the form as soon as possible since Mordor might do the balls mechanic. The last phase of the fight has 4 mechanics. Starting from that phase, you can finally drop your supply at any point you want, and the only mechanic that will remain in second phase is the pushback. Mordor will be rotating the ball switch either will be to the left of the platform or at the tank as long as they're keeping aggro. That's why the tank needs to be away from the group, otherwise he might end up killing somebody with the fireball, and as a group member you don't want to stand too close to the boss because of it. Sometimes when you start fighting the last form of Mordor, he will shoot a fireball, so the targeted player needs to juke the ball away from the rest of the group by jumping in the air. The second mechanic in this phase are adds. One of them are the shadow demons, who got basic attacks, while the controlled heroes got some special ones such as reflect, pulling, lungeable mechanics such as Cyborg's one-shot, and others. As a tank, you can either take the adds away from the boss so the group focuses on burning him, or you can tank them under Mordor and the group can burn them, or you can yank them off the edge. The third mechanic is the lightning bolt. Mordru will slam the platform with a lightning bolt that will linger for a few seconds, and it doesn't do anything if you don't stay near it, but if you're on it, you will receive damage over time. If somebody dies in it, they won't be able to get picked up till it disappears. The last mechanic that will be introduced to this fight, and it's the one connected to the feed, is Mordru's gem. The gem will be floating up in the air, randomly targeting someone with the golden purplish beam, which means that the targeted player will start dropping golden small orbs on the platform. Now, if any group member is close to those orbs, they will take damage in a couple of seconds. In a normal run, your healer should be able to heal through that damage with no issues. And now that you know the mechanics of the fight in general, let's move on to the feed strategy. First, make sure you're on your damage in tab. Second, communication is always key to success, so having people on voice chat definitely helps to call out in case you or somebody else gets the beam. So right after the cutscene before last phase, all group members should start spreading out in half-circular shape with fair spacing in between each other on the outer edge of the platform, with the tank either standing in the middle, under the boss, or to the far left depending on what the group and the tank's preference is. But note that the tank standing in the middle means that the group will burn the ads as well, which will increase the phase time, and that will lead to the group getting more mechanics to deal with. Once a player gets the beam, they or somebody else will have to call it out as soon as possible so everyone can start moving towards the middle of the platform except the player with the beam, who will have to move on the other edge of it so he wouldn't get hit by the orbs. If the tank is the one who gets the beam, all the group members stay in their spots while the tank moves through the middle or to the left depending on their starting position. Players should be careful with one last small thing. Sometimes two mechanics overlap, such as the knockback mechanic and gem. In that case, everyone would do what they normally do, go to the middle to avoid damage with the orbs and also avoid falling at the same time. But the player with the beam will have to take one for the team and get knocked off the platform while trying to run on the outer edge to avoid the orbs. I hope I covered everything. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.
I could run